What is the happiest story that happened to you? The happiest story that ever happened to me began on one of the most ordinary days of my life. The kind of day you barely remember until something unexpectedly meaningful happens. I was in my early 30s and had just moved to a new city for work. I didn't know many people yet, and even though I was excited for a fresh start, it was also a pretty lonely time. Most evenings I'd go straight home, cook something simple, and tell myself that once I settled in, I'd start doing more things. Weeks passed, and I was still just going back and forth between my apartment and the office. One day on my way home, I walked past a small community center. On the door was a poster, "Volunteer Day, help us sort donated clothes." I'm not sure why, but something inside me felt like doing something different for once. So the following Saturday, I simply showed up. Inside was a mix of people of all ages, soft music playing in the background, and piles of donated clothes everywhere. I had been there maybe 10 minutes when a little boy, maybe 8 years old, walked up to me without saying a word and handed me a red sweatshirt. It was way too big for him. He held it with both hands, looking at me as if he were saying, "This one." I smiled and started to explain that the clothes weren't being handed out yet, that we were just sorting them. But he smiled back and said, "It's for my mom. She's always cold." That's when I noticed a woman standing a few steps away, exhausted looking, quiet, wearing a thin jacket that definitely wasn't warm enough for February. I called one of the coordinators and explained the situation. I expected some rule about why it wasn't allowed. Instead, she just smiled and said, "If they need it, they can take it." When I told the boy, his whole face lit up, genuinely, beautifully. And I had to blink a few times, not to get emotional. He ran to his mom, pushed the sweatshirt into her hands, and said proudly, "Mom, it's red, that's your favorite." She hugged the sweatshirt to her chest, looked at me, and whispered, "Thank you." It wasn't dramatic. It didn't change the world. But that moment, that warmth, that connection with two complete strangers, was the first time since moving to that city that I didn't feel alone. And later that evening, walking home, I realized something important. The happiest moments often aren't the big ones. Sometimes they're quiet, simple, and wrapped around a red sweatshirt that ends up meaning far more than you ever expected. And that was the day I finally felt like I was exactly where I was meant to be.